Okay, here we go. Forget not to do the work of others. I question this line break right here. So forget not, I think, should go on one line, but to do the work of others should go on the second line. What is this text aligned to? Right now, there's a good strong alignment here, but it's aligned to this little building. It's not connected to anything that's visually significant. For example, Elder Uchtdorf, or a strong edge of the temple, or the center of the temple. Let's see. There's no this quote isn't attributed to anyone, which is fine with me, but it also makes me question whether Elder Uchtdorf said this, or if he is a spirit person who needs the work done for him, because of his transparency and because it doesn't say his name down here. That's a little confusing. Also, Moroni has a tangent. He's really close to the top. If you can make more sky up there, or that's really the best option, I think, to make more sky. He's too close there. Uh, these flowers make me think that this comes from his talk, the Forget Me Not talk, and this makes me think that too. But it takes my brain a minute to come to that conclusion, to put these three things together. So do the work of the viewer's brain for him by visually showing what you mean to convey here. All right, the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Uh, Very nice. In this quote, there's two levels of contrast. So most of the text is this size, and then you've got the Ferdinand down here. So I like how simple and clean and powerful really that contrast is. Now I wonder if you could add one more level of contrast without losing this nice simplicity here. So is there a word or a phrase in this quote that could stand out more? Also, you've aligned to these two lines of text to each other, but they're aligned to nothing. There are some powerful places in this image, in the center of the face, the eye, the edge of the face. Is there any way, maybe by making this three lines, you could use some of that strength over here and unite the quote with the image? All right, so I noticed immediately that these two lines of text are center aligned, and then the person who said the quote is right aligned to the second line. And so that creates a lot of, it ununifies and it hides strength. So don't center align your text. And if you stack it up more, if you find a place, it's hard with this particular image to find a place to align to, but you have the edges of these apples that might work. I don't understand this message. I think because there's so much going on up here, it doesn't make, I don't quite understand why are there other fruits inside of these apples, and what does that have to do with this quote? And what's this thing down here? Is it a logo? So I wonder if you want to do something like this, I wonder about making one apple larger. There's not hierarchy in the image either, and that's another thing that's tricky. There is some contrast with color here in the text, and there's contrast with the person and the quote, but I'd like to see this contrast strengthened. Nothing really jumps out to me right now on this image. All right, there's a nice strong alignment, and it unifies this quote with this strong image of the sun. So that's awesome. The script right here is all caps, and script fonts were not designed for the caps to be used together. The text is really fairly readable. It's only in the lighter areas where it struggles a little bit, especially when you back up. This is maybe just me, but this shape over here reminds me of a tombstone shape, and I don't think that's part of your message. And also this texture is having a hard time getting along with this background. So I know you're supposed to montage things, but right now this just feels awkward and contrived. um, Again, this is maybe just me, but one of the first things I think is that he's praying to the sun, and that's weird. I'm sorry. Uh, I don't know what you do about that. If you maybe try a different image, maybe one that's less literal and more abstract. Also, be sure you check your spelling. You've got one word here that needs to be fixed. All right, this is a really tricky juxtaposition. In other words, putting Jesus and a soldier next to each other. That's hard because although I see the message that they both died for us. Um, Frequently, soldiers are also paired with killing, and so this is a tricky one. You've given yourself a hard job to do. Because of that, you need to be really careful. Uh, One thing that might help this image is white space. Right now there's so much going on everywhere. There's a little bit of white space over here trapped in this corner and a little bit of white space up here in this corner and maybe a tiny bit here, but everything else feels very busy and crowded. And here's some white space here trapped in the middle. The white text on the red stripes is very readable, but I noticed up here at the top and down here at the bottom the black text is not quite so readable. I noticed that when you put these flowers over this red stripe, they become pink, and that might be sending a different message. Also, this hazy white takes on a bit of a pinkish tint to it. I'm not sure that this flag and this second image are working together, and I'm not sure what to tell you. I've thought a lot about this. One thing that I wonder about is because in the quote you talk about Jesus Christ and an American soldier, I wonder what in your imagery is representing Jesus Christ. I see two representations of the American soldier, and I don't think I would put a picture of Christ kind of in the same manner over here, but that's just a thought. I'm not sure what the answer is. Powerful imagery here. Notice that you're using the corners a lot, so you've got this corner filled in and this corner filled in. And sometimes what happens when you use corners is that the best space is trapped in the middle instead of the space being used as a frame. So watch that, maybe bring text and this second image in. Let's see, you have a nice strong right alignment here. I like that you used this alignment. What I wonder about is some more contrast in your text. Also, I noticed that there's some words right here, Robert something .com, and need to be careful with that. You don't want to use other people's images without their permission. You can in your college career use up to 5 images that belong to somebody else for educational purposes, but never to make money. So anyway, just something to think about here. That feels out of place to me. I noticed that this image is fairly pixelated, so check your resolution and size. Also, this looks more montagey than it looks more collage than montage. Remember, in a montage you have a smooth blending of pixels, but in a collage, images are more cut out and put together. I like this strong right alignment in your text. Your text could use some more contrast. All right, this text here is trapped between the top and the hiker, and there's no contrast. It's all bold, and when everything's bold, then nothing's bold. I don't quite understand the quote as it goes with these images. When it says the mountains are calling, does it mean the mountains that are in this original image, or is it these mountains? And what's the relationship between these mountains? Does he not want to hike where he is? I don't know. There's a little bit of confusion. I wonder if the second image should be something very different, or if the hiker was shown in a place where there weren't mountains, something like that. Um, I also see, how do I say it? I also see in this image a lot of competition. So this image is competing for dominance with this image and this part of the image and the text. These 1, 2, 3, even this down here, 4, 5. These places all, because of their contrast, their difference, they're all saying, look at me, I'm the most important. So I need some hierarchy on this page. Notice that the good white space is trapped here in the middle of all this busyness. Also the quotation marks, I don't know that they're needed because you haven't attributed this quote to anyone, so we don't know who said it and that it is a quote. I think I would just take the quotation marks off. Or you might put the person who said the quote with it. Okay, this image is really powerful. I really like the simple color, monochromatic color repetition. Everything's black and white except for this yellow that's repeated in the text and in the image. Really like that. It unifies the project. I wonder why this text is aligned over here to nothing. It's aligned to the edge. And then this text is aligned left, which brings it in and makes it align with this figure. I think that the distance between this quote, this part of the quote, and this part of the quote indicates that there's no relationship between these 4 lines of text. So bring them together. Every time you fall, rise up and fly. And simplify the emphasis. Do you really want to emphasize the falling? I don't see any falling in the imagery. I think I would emphasize just the fly, so make it big, and make it bigger than this. There's a little contrast, and there's a nice weight contrast, but really give it to us. Also, if he could be on a rule of thirds instead of dead center, then that would make this image more powerful. Okay, the first thing I noticed here is that your basketball player has been squished. He's too tall and skinny. You need to hold shift when you resize him. Also, your text has a nice strong alignment here, but it's not connected to anything. Where there's a nice strong place over here, I wonder about right aligning your text so that would unite it with your basketball player and with this strong line in the flag. And then some contrast in the text would be helpful. This one, I love the focus contrast where this is really blurry and then you've got something that's more in focus. It does seem like the message here is to focus on the temple, but the temple really takes a second place to this person's head. So I wonder about cropping this photo a little bit differently so that there is more focus on the temple. This word can be bigger and more different and stand out more. Notice what's happening in this dark area where it's not quite as readable. So play with that. The alignment here to the left is nice and strong between the text, but it doesn't connect us to anything. So bring it over to a place that's significant and heavier in the image with the imagery to connect it to the imagery. When you overtrack your text, this text is large enough to read, and it's overly tracked. In other words, there's too much space between the letters, which when you do that, it disassociates the letters from each other because they have less of a relationship to each other. It's still fairly readable, and it does have an artistic feel, I guess, but it looks to me like you need to take the spacing down. The text is fairly readable. I think I talked about this up here, but just check it, especially in the dark areas. And good. And There's a lot going on in this one. Um, there's kind of the scale and the dinner or the plate and the girl and the measuring and the quote, and they're all competing. So can you simplify this? Could this be, oh, and then there's this texture back here. Could this be, you know, 2 of these things instead of 5 of these things? And I wonder if this is uplifting. It looks a little discouraging with all the not good enoughs and the, you know, the downcast person. Um, this image is a little pixelated as well, so that's another thing to think about. This is going to be a hard message to make uplifting because it's about society being ugly, kind of. Anyway, just think about that. There's got to be a way to show this. I understand what you're going for, but again, the idea of this project is to be uplifting and inspirational. All right, so a family that plays together stays together. Love the quote. These 2 big heavy bars are really detracting from everything else, especially this gray bar right here, because it makes the contrast between the photo and the color low. So I almost didn't even see this word family. I saw that plays together stays together, and then I realized that must not be the start, and then my eye came up here to family. It also traps some white space. I think I would just take these bars out and think of a different way to handle this. Besides that, there's not any montage going on here. There needs to be a smooth blending of pixels somewhere. And right now you've got a cutting out with using the text. But you need something that's blending. Yeah, I guess that's about it there. Nice strong alignment, by the way, over here on the left side. Really like that. All right, this message is nice and clear. There's great white space. The script that this is in, I like that it's not the typical script that I see all the time on all the projects, but it is tricky to read. Each letter has its own little fancy character things, and so it's kind of a combination between a decorative and a script. I think you should look for a different script that's more readable. Also, you could simplify the contrast here by picking just one of these 2 words. Is it thoughts or is it bloom? Or maybe thoughts bloom, and if you put those together on the same line, maybe that would work. But just give us one focus. That makes, visually at least, that makes it a lot easier to understand and to digest quickly. All right, this text on these diagonal stripes is hard to read. Might want to change that background a little bit. Also, this claw hand, whatever that is going on down there, that's really just distracting. I think you could get away with getting rid of that. You have a nice strong alignment, but why align left here when left, all that's over here is the edge of the project? If you aligned right, it would bring your text over and unite it with this strong image of Spider-Man. You have some contrast in here with size, but because it's subtle, I don't get it. And if you're going to contrast, really contrast, and then probably don't want to do this whole phrase and this phrase, because that takes away the hierarchy. Also, this dash, I think I would just leave it off because that would help strengthen your alignment. And right now it's a little bit off this left line. Anyway, I love this image of the map in the water. That's really cool. I think that these other adventurers here on the sides are distracting. Too much going on. It works best if you just pick one thing, and these really seem out of place with the way that they've been blended. Just unnatural, but this seems natural. So I'd say you just get rid of these distractors. You've got your montage requirement met here in the water. You've got your quotation mark hanging off the left edge. That's excellent. That helps to keep this line strong. There is more space between these first two lines than there is between these other lines. So you'll need to watch that. That creates an odd relationship here. And then Oprah Winfrey is the same size, same contrast as everything else is up here. Maybe this first line is larger, but it's not larger. It's not large enough for us to tell that it's different. Make your contrast a lot stronger. And also make sure that your text is readable. In the darker areas of the sky, the text becomes less readable. In the light areas, it's very readable. This is a nice strong image. The text is crowded up into the corner. We kind of have a corners thing going on with text, lightning, hands, and ship, everything in a corner with white space trapped in the middle. So that might be tricky to change with the way that this original image is. I think I would do something different with these hands. They feel out of place. I like that they repeat the black and white with the ship. That's really nice. And there's kind of an alignment connection here. But they're kind of trapped in their own box and floating unnaturally out here. So is there a different way you could symbolize prayer? Also, you need some contrast in your text. And consider aligning it instead of with the edge, consider aligning it with something significant in the image like the ship, or if you leave the hands here, align with the hands. Okay. Really nice contrast in the text. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. There's nice contrast between this big text and this little text. Really like that. Now, let's see, what was my note? Oh. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. I just missed a thing on my notes. So this image on the left is really nice, especially here. This was very well done. The imagery on the right, where the world is, it doesn't make quite as much sense to me. If we're keeping our feet on the ground, it looks like we're looking at the ground, looking at the earth. But I think it would be stronger if this was just white over here, or if it was stars, something out in space. And then the quotation marks right here throw off this alignment. So hang them off the edge and align everything. Or even better, why not left align this? So instead of being aligned to the edge, it's aligned to this image and it pulls them together. Okay, I think I'm back on track now. Sorry about that little hiccup. This is the one that has great contrast in the text. Really like what you've tried to arrange this and design it. Is there a way you could strengthen the alignment? There's kind of a creative alignment going on, and there's, these two lines are connected, and there's some kind of a connection here. This is floating, and this is connected to that. Anyway, is there a way you could strengthen this alignment? And consider the primary message right now in the text is this life. It's got the most attention drawn to it. Is that the main message? This life? If so, then great. If not, then maybe something else like strong should be bigger. One of the challenges that you'll have with this image is that there's not really a place for the text. You might have to create some space for it, and that will be tricky. All right, I think this is the last one. I really like this. I especially like the contrast in the text. But it's all center aligned right here, and that takes its power away. So use this guy, just like you did here. He's a strong thing in the image. Use him as an invisible line and either right align the text to this invisible line or left align the text to this invisible line, and then bring President Uchtdorf up here. This space between these two things makes it look like you're connecting President Uchtdorf with this young man, as if here's President Uchtdorf, but he has no relationship to this quote. So bring this text right up here to your other text, and again, align it. Take the little hyphen off and just make it a nice strong line. Great readability here, great contrast. The image is pretty saturated, and it makes it look a little bit, how do I say it? Makeup and girls and fantasy. So you might want to take some of the saturation out of some of this image. It's okay maybe up here in the sky and maybe a little bit of this, but just reconsider, think about, what are we trying to communicate? We don't want makeup necessarily to be the message here. Okay, and that's it.